Over 5,000 built, flown more than by a dozen nations, twin J-79s pushing Mach 2, top mid-killer Vietnam, first fighter to serve both the Navy and the Air Force, 16 world speed and altitude records, climbing 45,000 feet in under a minute, armed to the teeth with bombs, missiles, and the gun that I had to borrow later on in life. Nicknamed Old Smoky Joe with the trail that the world remembers, still flying combat decades after Vietnam, loud enough to rattle your bones, and legendary enough to never be forgotten. This is the F4 Phantom.
Hell yeah.
And for once, it's
armed with the teeth and painted with teeth, right?
Some of them are. Exactly.
Absolutely. This is
I'm
actually
so excited about this episode.
This is the first intro that I haven't been ashamed of.
I'm sweating.
Fifi, you can turn your light on.
Oh shit! I always forget to turn my light
and
on.
I have to ask before we get too far into it. You got your headset on the right way. It's not backwards. The mic's not
it's
behind
on. It's on forward this time. God, you're such a spitball. I can't believe I did that.
Thank you.
So
sir.
all night.
Oh, all right.
For 2 seconds of background, Fifi sends me a little note. He's like, "Hey, you gonna play Gray Zone Warfare?" And I always explain like Gray Zone Warfare is like the DCS of like first-person shooters. And we're in there doing like his little intro missions, and there's some gunfire over to the left. And when you die, you lose all your gear. So there's this thing called gear fear and everything. And there's a big gunfight going on, like right to our left, 100 meters. And he's like, "Contact right." I was like, "Dude, it's to the left." He's like, "No, to the west." I was like, "Bro, look at the mini map. It's the east." And he's like, "No, I heard it's to the right." I was like, "Is your headphones on the right way?" 2 seconds later, he's like, "Contact left."
And all night, like, because these new headphones have like the microphones like built in the front. And all night we couldn't get like it to sound right because it sounded like I was talking out of the back of a cardboard box. Turns out it was listening to the back of my head. So
nice.
I got them on the right way now. So I always have to check it now. So if I ever reach up and just do this, it's because I'm feeling for. Yeah. Anyways, Scott, kick us in because I'm going to sit here in the corner now.
Welcome to High Alpha Hooligans, everybody. I'm Scud. As always, we've got Fifi with his headset on the right way, and we've got Jimmy with us. And today's episode is about the F4 Phantom. And as you can see, we've got a few guests.
Party.
Welcome back, Graywolf, our regular on here. Practically one of our hosts now. He's been invited to just like crash any episode we do.
Spirit animal.
But being the voice of Jester and involved with the development in Heebler, he's here. And then as you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, we've got two others. We've got Vulture and Diesel here to join us. As the F4 Phantom was being developed by Heebler, they appropriately reached out and got a hold of some subject matter experts. And we now have them here. I'm not going to tell you their story. I'll let them do that for themselves. A little bit about themselves and how they are subject matter experts on the Phantom, and then we'll get into talking about it. Vulture, do you want to go first?
Sure. A little bit of my background: Air Force brat, born to the sound of B-36s at Rainy Air Force Base, Puerto Rico. Then lived all over the world when my dad was being PCSed all over the place, mainly in Europe and in the U.S., of course. And then after that, after high school, went into the Air Force Academy, class of 74. From there, right into F4 training at Luke Air Force Base, and then got my F4 out of there. Went to OSAN, right off the bat, sitting air defense alert in the best Korea. From then on, back to the States, back to PACA, back to the States, over to Europe, and ended up in a hardship assignment at Eglin Air Force Base on the beach, having to sail boats all day long, and once in a while show up for work. And then retired out of a job that was working simulators for the Air Force, getting hired by companies to fix the things I used to bitch about the simulators that I tested. So I went on and did that for a second career in sims for a large airplane company that builds airliners. And here in Seattle, in St. Louis and Seattle also. And then now retired and never wanted to see simulators again. So that's what I do. I do DCS for fun and games, and still flying various other things for fun and games also.
Yeah. So you were a backseater in the Phantom?
I was a backseater. I was I was a pilot in high school. My mom had to drive me to the airport, the old Quantico Marine Corps Station, where I did go to the get my pot rating there, my certificate, because I was starting to fly before I was old enough to drive. And then this is back. I went to the Air Force. I was in the Air Force when it was an aero club. Immediate post Vietnam was when I finally got operational. And then from 76 through about 83, the Air Force was an absolute aero club. You pretty much could do anything you want and had a lot of fun doing it. And then it cracked down about 83, 84 time frame when it got serious again. And then by the time I was pretty much wrapped up and on the staff, then all the wars started up again. So I couldn't get into much of that till the very end, but not operation in the F4. But yeah, I was back in the F4 the whole time. Loved it. Great airplane. A lot of fun. Good stories. Good
Great.
memories.
Glad to have you here. Diesel, you want to tell us about
Absolutely. Some of the viewers and listeners of the podcast may already know me from the YouTube channel Diesel Thunder Aviation. I'm my real name's Jamie, and I was an Air Force bred growing up. Grew up on Little Rock Air Force Base. Got to hear E and H model C-130s, the ones that sound like a C-130. Nothing against the J, it just don't sound right in my mind.
T-56? I was the T-56 mechanic, so I get it.
T-56s. And so after I graduated high school, I joined the Coast Guard, did 21 years as an electronics technician, and given that I grew up on an Air Force base, always had the aviation bug, just never pursued it because my eyesight was terrible for a lot of years until the Navy fixed it with some lasers. And made a good career in the Coast Guard as an electronics technician, like I said. And a few years before I retired, I was talking with a friend of mine about the A-10 Warthog, and he stops. He goes, "You need to come over to my house one of these days. I got this awesome simulator called DCS. I think you would really like it." Because I'd kind of dabbled in like Microsoft Flight Simulator over the years. I always would get bored with it after about 10, 15 minutes. It's like, oh, yay, take off, land, nothing special. And then he gets me into that Warthog. I'm like, whoa, you actually got to click all this stuff. It's like, oh, okay, I can figure this out. And it's like, it got me hooked. I liked it a lot. And retired out of the Coast Guard, electrician now. And a few years ago, my son came home and said, "Hey, Dad, you want to see an F4 Phantom get cranked up this weekend?" Okay. And
Yes.
The
absolutely.
answer is yes.
Yep.
Get the car.
So we did, because he knew our crew chief, because he worked with him over at the local flight school, and it's like, hey, yeah, you want to see a Phantom get cranked up? It's like, yeah, sure. The YouTube channel was really in its early stages. I think I only had it up for a couple months, and then that was pretty much my first live action video using an old camcorder I had sitting around, and been a volunteer ever since that day.
You do as a volunteer there.
General maintenance. I leverage a lot of my electronics and electrical knowledge to do with a lot of the electrical on the airplane. That's just come in really handy. As one of the other guys put it, I have the ability to speak Electron. And a lot of that translated into digging info out of a lot of our technical manuals, the technical orders, to get like, how is this supposed to work, or what bus is this component on? It's like, oh no, that's on the DC bus and that's powered by the battery. So if this is on, that's supposed to be on, that kind of thing. That helped a lot in what we do maintain in the real jet, and also helping Heapler out with the development of the DCS F4E.
That's
I
awesome.
got a question for both of you. So the F4 is a very special aircraft.
Yes.
It doesn't fly in the traditional sense that every other aircraft does. And because it's almost extinct in today's world, still operated by 3 countries, still, I think 98 of them still in operation. But back in the early 2000s, they were still operated by a lot of countries around the world. And the first time I ever felt a F4 Phantom flyby was different than an Eagle, different than a Hornet, different than a Viper. The A-10 didn't even belong in the same conversation. Can you guys both describe for me the feeling that you felt the first time you heard a Phantom just moving, just cooking?
Take that one, Vulture, first.
Well, I don't remember the first time. Well, yeah, it probably had to be when I was lucky enough that I got to see the Thunderbirds and the Blues fly full. Those were awesome, and I gotta admit, the Blues are better than the Thunderbirds. They always have, and they still are.
Yeah, I think so
Shitty
too.
airplanes. The only time they fly better airplanes was when they were all flying the Phantoms and those hard wing short nose F4s are the best looking F4s. But that was probably when I first really, got my experience watching those things when I was in high school. After that, I mean, it was logical that, yeah, when I went to the zoo, I mean, and when I graduated, I was going to go fly F4s. I made sure everything was lined up and that's what I was going to get. And it worked out. But even at the zoo, as cadets, we'd get incentive rides. I went on a third lieutenant trip. I remember when I was a freshman. Sophomore, went to Homestead, and usually it was the juniors who got the flights. So us younger kids were just, cadets were just kind of sort of, we get to watch them fly. And one morning, this junior was a bit of an asshole in the squad, comes in and opens the door and says, "Hey, Dan, you want to go fly an F4?" And I go, "Yeah." Said, "Well, I'll go do it. I'm kind of hungover. Take my slot." Cool. So that was my first one. So flew in the EMAR out of Homestead, did the whole thing, and it was like, I really like this.
Yeah, probably pretty intoxicating.
It was fun. And then later on, again, another kid thing, I spent some time at Shaw flying in Air Force Cs and managed to depart the jet on my first attempt. That's pretty cool. And that was the whole thing where you first realize about, you learn really about adverse yaw. So I got to see that firsthand and woke my pilot up a bit when I said, "No, don't move your hands when you're rolling this thing." Anyway, but yeah, the F4 was always, I mean, and even when you flew it a lot, it was always just such a beautiful airplane. And all the people say, "Oh, it's not aerodynamic, it's just thrust over." It's a very sophisticated piece of aerodynamics.
I want to break that down and talk about that adverse yaw and how that get a little bit more into that as we develop. Diesel, to Jimmy's question, first time you heard of Phantom?
I'm drawing back on memory there. I probably saw one at the air show there at Little Rock Air Force Base. I don't distinctly remember that growing up. I'm a child of the 80s, and by that time that I was really coming of age, most F4s were either retired or relegated to National Guard units, so I don't remember seeing a lot of them growing up. Ours, on the other hand, the one I work on or help work on, I have heard it crank up. I've heard it get up to 85% and get that distinctive J79 howl, and that it's especially standing 20 feet away from it. It's just it's you feel it. It's a very hard thing to describe. How
that percussion that you
Yes.
feel from that combustion
Yes.
is
And
it's a symphony.
and then
So-
seeing the older
Those-
J79 nozzles move around, and then also putting my hand like on the wing and feeling how it just vibrates as it's sitting there running. It's like, oh wow, that's pretty freaking cool.
So-
go
Go ahead.
It was the end of detachment party at Patch. We were supporting OB-10 training with F4s. Anyway, there was an F4 being run up on the test on the hard stand right in front of the squadron where we were drinking, and they had tied down. They had changed something in the engine. They were doing throttle sweeps. So I just walked over there with my beer and said, "Hey, can I watch?" And one of the guys hands me a set of bunny ears, and I stuck my ear from my foamies underneath there, and they're doing burner strobes, and it's really cool. So I get closer and closer. So I end up, I'm literally right abeam the nozzles. In fact, just a little bit after the nozzle of supersonic airflow, just standing there as they do burner sweeps. And it was, the fact that was been drinking a little, for a while made it more interesting. But like you say, your whole body is just, you watch this airflow and the shock cones, and everything is just moving. It's like, that is really
That's
cool.
wild.
Snowfall.
Yeah.
It's really taking you off.
Diesel, how did you get involved with jumping in on the F4 and helping out with that, and who is that with?
So that's so the F4, our F4. A short history on that. That is owned by the Collings Foundation. It's the only flyable F4 Phantom in private ownership, and I'm one of the volunteers that helps maintain her. About 3 years ago, May of 22. my son, who was still in one of my sons, who was still in high school, volunteered up at the local flight school and knew our crew chief Al. And he came home one day. He goes, "Hey, Dad, you want to go see an F4 Phantom get cranked up this weekend?" I was like, "An F4?" I was like, "Talking about an F4?" He's like, "Yeah, there's an F4 at the airfield. You want to see it get started up and taxi it around?" I was like, "Yes." So we went up there and I brought a digital camcorder that I had at the time, and an old cheap thing that's like maybe on its best day 720p, nothing HD or 4K at all. And that ended up being my first live action video on the channel. I don't think that was also the day I started volunteering because I was pretty impressed. I was like, "Hey, I'll help out." And I asked them, I was like, "Hey, do you guys mind if I put this on my YouTube channel?" I don't think anybody ever thought that it would grow to the point that it has now as far as that stuff goes, that people still love this jet.
Yeah. So how does the Collings Foundation get an F4 Phantom?
So,
Yeah. What's the process?
so that happened. They had,
Those of us who want to know.
yeah.
Yeah, just
Out of
let me check my
curiosity,
bank
you know,
account real quick. Let me check the funds.
we got the Hooligans Foundation starting right now, so we need some
Yeah.
notes.
Yeah, we made $10.31. So we're
Gonna
we're
need a
well
little
on our
bit
way.
more than that. How they got it actually happened back when I was in high school back in the 90s. They approached the Air Force about wanting to add a Vietnam era aircraft into their collection, and what better one to use than an F4. And they kind of, from what I've come to understand, the Air Force and the Air Force Museum kind of hemmed and hawed on that, and it ended up getting written into one of the National Defense Authorization Acts that says, "Hey, the Foundation can get a jet, help Air Force facilitate this." So they had to at that point. So they end up going out to the boneyard and picking out one of the better airframes. And that's how we
Is it a
got
C or an E,
Yeah,
or which model?
ours is a Delta.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Ours is a
Okay.
short nose D, block 28, if I'm not mistaken. She never really got much in the way of upgrades over the years. Kind of a good thing, I suppose. But she was
What
also
year or what vintage was that? I guess.
she is a 1965, so her real tail number is 650,749. And
That's nice.
despite her paint job, she never went to Southeast Asia. She short and sweet of her career in the Air Force was she was on the nuclear deterrent mission, so she could fly and carry the big bomb, and thankfully that never had to happen. Spent time in Germany at Hahn, and then Bent Waters, Woodbridge over in England, and did a stint at Torrejon, Spain, and until sometime in the 80s. And then after that, she got sent stateside because that's when the Air Force pulled F-4s off that mission. And she served with 2 National Guard units, Kansas and Texas, the Texas 147th, which oddly enough is still based at the airfield where the F4 is kept. So her final squadron that sent her to the boneyard in 89 or 90, we just happened to pick that jet, and it happened to be one of their old birds.
Baby.
Pretty
awesome.
much.
Nice.
So get rid of me.
I got a question for Diesel, and it's totally off topic. But as an Air Force guy, I have to take a dig at the Coast Guard. So you said that they fixed your eyes with lasers. Were they sharks with laser beams?
Fortunately not. That would have been a lot cooler. No,
I've heard
All right, I had to throw some.
no, it's
I had to throw
it's
some in there.
oddly enough, when I went in for that procedure, you sit in a dentist chair of all things.
and they're like, "Hey, did you brush today?" No. Well, I don't know. It's written on the chair.
Yeah, your vision's much better now that we fixed it, and floss better.
Yeah, please don't forget.
Please floss.
All right, so you guys both got brought in as by Heapler as subject matter experts for this as they're developing the F4, and you both obviously DCS flyers, aviators. I'm just going to ask the question that people probably want to know right off the bat, and then we'll let that trickle into other subjects. But how's it compare? I mean, systems wise for Diesel and flight dynamics and stuff like that for Vulture. What are you guys' impressions?
Artwork wise, like dead on, because I only recently got a VR headset. It's a Reverb G2, and the first time that I put that on and sat in the DCS F4, and I'm looking around, it's like, holy crap! Other than a slight scaling issue because I didn't have the FOV set right for me, um, it was like, holy crap! It's like I'm sitting in the one over at our hangar. It was that dead on. Heapler did an outstanding job on the artwork.
Yeah.
Systems wise is a little limited because what makes an F4 an F4 was taken out of our jet. So ours had zero combat capability whatsoever. We can't even turn on the radar because like cables are cut and a lot of critical components taken out. So, but a lot of the electrical stuff still works, all the switchology and stuff. So from what I've observed at the hangar, matches everything that I've seen in the sim.
Nice. And I'm sure you're probably really involved in helping them
Oh yes.
make sure that all of the switches did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, all the switches, different components were on the right circuits because the F4, I'm just going off memory. There's 4 AC buses and at least 3. Actually, no, I'm sorry. There's another 4 DC buses as well. I got to count the armament system. I don't count that on our jet because it's useless. But it does exist and it's there. And it's like, hang on, this is supposed to be over here and that's supposed to be powered by the battery. Oh, I'm sorry, a 5th DC bus because now you got the battery. I always forget about that sometimes. But yeah, that because we have the real jet and we have, I'm not kidding. There's 2 bookcases over at the hangar. It's about as tall as I am. I'm over 6 feet tall. 2 bookcases just filled with technical orders, all for the Phantom, and it covers not only the D model but also covered C's and E's as well. So, hey, that helped out a lot for the most part. The only thing we don't have is anything that was ever classified, anything that covered weapons or defensive systems.
Sure. Vulture, how about you from your time and experience in the plane, jumping in DCS?
From 2,000 hours in the backseat, it's really, really close. The systems are modeled really nicely. It is an old analog jet. I mean, it was an old analog jet at this point. And that kind of stuff is kind of, not really well appreciated these days. So the radar is about as tough as it was in real life. Like any simulator, it's actually harder than the real thing, but that's because it's a sim and not the real jet. Gives you the same feel of how you have to learn your radar in your jet and how you have to really massage the controls to get the tilt and gain and all the little settings to really dig out the targets from the scope. And I know there's more things coming down the line, hopefully with the IFF and Combat Tree that'll help out too, because some more sensors and everything's getting better. But yeah, they knocked out of the park on this release. And like Diesel said, I climbed in that thing in VR and I do everything in VR. And it's like, yeah, I've been here. I find myself, we always taxi back with our arms on the canopy. I was up after a flight. There's nothing there. I did this.
Yeah.
Scud said the same thing.
On myself for a while. Yeah. Whenever I closed the canopy, especially 2-seat, like I was in the Tomcat with Fifi and he closed the canopy and I tucked my elbows in real quick because I'm so used to like getting out of the way. It is very immersive in VR. I do want to propose though that you said it's, very analog jet. I think from now on, whenever as a group we decide we want to go fly Cold War birds, we don't say we're going to go fly Digital Combat Simulator. I think we should say, hey, let's go fly Analog Combat Simulator.
I like it.
And it's a plan that really needs a person in the back to master the backseat. The Tomcat's probably the same. But the F4, you really need someone, who's smart enough to work the stuff. The Jester does a fairly good job, but it's still Jester.
So
It's still Jester.
Oh,
Sorry, Jester.
You gotta be careful because we got Jester right here.
Oh, I hear it all. You believe me. I hear it.
It is getting a lot better. Now I don't use the turn off Jester switches up as I used to. But guys who specialize in backseat are they're fun to fly with because it's really, you can tell the difference. And it's neat to have someone to join and being able to, and for me, after spending all my career in the backseat, spin the jump and do all the stuff in the front. Now we flew a lot. I mean, the day when I was flying it, WSOs were in a weird situation where we weren't supposed to fly, but we were supposed to be able to fly. So figure that one out. Not allowed to fly below 10,000 feet, but you're supposed to be able to land a jet if your front seat had caught a goose with his teeth. And some guys didn't do it, but some of us like me who were pilots before, I mean, we did literally everything you could do in the air. Tax out, take off, hit the tanker, go to the range, take turns dropping. We didn't drop bombs so much because you couldn't see where you're going, but we'd fly back, do intercepts, come back and take turns landing the jet. I mean, typically depend on the pilot. You get the first half of the mission. If we can, I'll take the second half and fly it home, and you can sit back and relax.
I got
So
a
you
few
can-
questions on that then.
And in that respect,
One,
but the thing
oh,
is,
sorry, go ahead.
I like the airplane. It's very. I landed the DCS one from the back seat, and it's very much just like the jet. Hard to see, but not bad to do.
Yeah, I wanted to get into what your thought on the flight model, but I do want to ask, as a backseater landing the airplane, I mean, I taught in T-38s and I can't see around the front pilot a lot, but sitting in the back of the Phantom and you got that little, was it like this much of a window that you can look through to land? That's insane. Is that how it wasn't? I mean, was it?
But honestly, first of all, the F4, the DCS is still a little bit tricky to land because I think right now it's got a little bit slow thrust response in the 80 to 87% range. So it doesn't pick up quite as fast, or you don't get any sense of when you get in thrust. It's hard to tell, make those real small adjustments. Like a 30, when you're trying to really fine tune getting the speed for the front. So you can't, there's no way to do it unless you got a motion seat, I guess. But in the real jet, speed control, you can nail on speed and have that steady tone all the way down. That was no trouble at all. That took that problem away. And then what we did, we just leaned over to the left, run your seat to the right place. Now, if you're seated right, when you look through the front pilot's left quarter panel and you're on speed, what you saw through the quarter panel is where the jet was going to impact the ground. So you just got that, you put the numbers of the captain's bars in the quarter panel, kept it on speed and flew it down to the touchdown. And then, give it back to the pilot because he had to put the drag chute out. And as long as there wasn't a crosswind from the left that moved the nose over and blocked your vision, because you couldn't do it. In a right crosswind, it was, and I joke, it was actually probably one of the easiest airplanes to land I've ever flown. The real jet. Now, the hard way, the C models and the Ds, I'm sure they were, I never flew a D, was just the easiest airplane to land ever made. Once you got it trimmed up on speed, it came down, but you're done when you touched.
Yeah, you would never think
So-
that with the way I freaking land these things in freaking DCS. Look,
But it's a very decision.
it's just
It has.
I get
there's a test-
someone's voice in my ear the entire time, just telling me how bad it.
I do too, and I gotta admit that this is slightly awkward having the real Jester sitting here because I always tell the one in the back, it's like, "Hey, quiet in the cheap seats back there. That was a good land. I can use the jet
Dude,
again."
my only good landing in the Phantom where Jester gave me a positive feedback was when I dead sticked it in.
I don't even
Um,
want to talk about that.
You give me actual engines on it and I can't land that thing for shit.
Oh man,
No, it flies. It's very much, especially I noticed the takeoff when you start with full aft stick. And I've got a force feedback stick, and you feel the stick come alive as you accelerate.
Oh,
It gets
yeah.
heavier and heavier, and then you're using the stick for it. The nose starts rising, and you stop the nose rise and hold it there, and then it rumbles a bit. Then you get the bit of a roll when you get airborne. Snap the gear flaps up and accelerate away, and the stick gets progressively heavier. That is like wow. First time I
Yeah,
went through
dude,
that.
the force feedback modeling in the Phantom is phenomenal with the capital
phenomenal.
PH.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
Oh man,
It is
so many jokes.
extremely well done. I like the force feedback. I love it actually, but the Phantom was like a whole new
It needs
level
it.
of force feedback.
Okay, so now I have to ask the question because I was just reminded of it. I have.
Oh
so,
yeah.
So this is a question. This is an argument that we've been having for a very long time.
I have to hold on
And-
one second, PP.
Hold on. It's not an argument. It's been
Yeah, it's
settled.
been settled.
Fifi won't let it
Yeah.
go.
No, it's
Well,
not.
however, the real question comes down to: are you gentlemen of class with taste, or do you fly something with duct tape, 100-mile-an-hour tape with like a hole in the floor? So
Unbelievable.
now
You're-
you can go.
you
Pete.
guys.
You're allowed to speak.
So
It's going
who
way off
would
topic.
win? Who would win in a dogfight? Would it be Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt from Mission Impossible flying a Mustang, or is it Sean Connery as James Bond flying a Spitfire?
That's tough. I'd get Sean Connery. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Spitfire would outturn it.
I feel like you guys.
You're
can
just
catch everybody.
losing more and more.
I
Yeah,
feel
what are
like
you,
guys
1-8
catch
right now?
everybody.
Yeah,
Well, no,
he is like
I said
1-8.
if I first compare the Mustang over the Spitfire as an airplane, I'd give Sean Connery the top over Tom Cruise.
I agree.
God.
Everybody's over here. Pinky's
can't-
out on some sort of fine beverage, and Fifi's got his Pabst Blue
so-
Ribbon over here.
Hey, yeah, it's got a blue ribbon for a reason. I'm telling you. Like, but you know
Yeah,
what?
because it was the best beer in 1863.
Well, the
I'm
top
done
of the
with
bottom
this.
shelf is not an accolade, dude. I mean,
You guys just,
All right,
I feel like
guys,
Back to the
I think the
Phantom.
world's
Come on,
against me.
back to the
World's
Phantom.
against me.
That's what we're here for.
Oh man.
All
So-
right. So go ahead.
No, I'm done talking. I'm done talking. For
All right, fine. So I do want, and we don't have to get too deep into it, but I want to talk and ask Vulture about the flight model and flight dynamics. And he'd mentioned just before we started recording, departing controlled flight in the Phantom, and I've heard from other Phantom drivers, there's, you turn with the rudder and you don't want to use a lot of aileron for adverse yaw and stuff like that. But can you talk to how that thing flew?
Sure. Especially the hard wings, because the soft wings, the slatted jets were a lot more forgiving. And I trained in C models at Luke, which are the pure hard wings with the full BLC. Those things, once you load them up, got above, I think, 12 or 14 G AOA, you literally were trained to keep your knees together in the back seat. The front seater couldn't move the stick sideways. And everything was done with aft stick and rudder to roll the airplane. And you'd roll the airplane on rudders, and, hey, yeah, most airplanes do it. The F-15 does it beautifully also. But that's just the way it went. It wasn't so much, it's not so much adverse yaw in that case. You're using roll due to dihedral effect. The trouble is, if you did try to roll using ailerons, that's where adverse yaw came in. And if you departed it, it would be rather sporting when it went off in the opposite direction. And it would really, it'd give you a little bit of warning that it bang, there it went. And you just, but the thing is, all you really have to do there is just shove the stick forward and wait for it. Stick forward, ailerons, neutral, stick maintain, pull forward. If it doesn't recover, deploy the drag chute. But it always came out most of the time. But that's just, again, the other guy's taking gun camera film of the airplane laughing. The slanted jets would give you a lot more warning. And you could really get deep into it and before you do anything stupid. But most guys, you know that once you load it up and got out of angle of attack, you just use rudders because the ailerons just aren't going to work. You're not going to get the roll you want. And that, like I said, that applies to any airplane really at a really high angle of attack. Ailerons are just, they call them more drag in that. So
yeah.
with the training, it wasn't something that was scary. It was just how the airplane flew. It wasn't like an F-100 doing, saber dances or, things like that. All the jets of those time frame all had interesting characteristics. And the F4 was just, you had to move that stick around and, do some of that pilot shit. So
30 years
Well,
later,
and
this guy still knows
interesting-
all his EPs off the top of his
Oh yeah, he knows all the boldface.
Yeah.
He'd never forget the boldface.
Yeah, he never forget the
We-
boldface.
On the last episode, we were talking about how the Phantom, it doesn't actually like aerodynamically fly. It just beats gravity into submission with raw power, and and that's what it uses to fly. It's such a cool and iconic airplane. I remember before I enlisted in the Air Force, I remember when I was a kid seeing a poster, and it was just two Phantoms flying low level over a highway, and it just said, "Have you gone hunting today?" It's like,
Wow.
oh, that's so cool.
it was a Reno Guard stuff, I think.
I need to find that poster.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Good
Hunt,
stuff.
Get hunted out now. Yeah,
Seen
there's
a few FBOs around. Yeah.
so Vulture, and it's going to be a lot of questions for you here. What was your favorite mission to fly in the Phantom? Because it was obviously a jet that just did everything you wanted it to do. But what was your favorite mission to fly in the Phantom?
The most fun was still air to air. Realizing that we're talking mid Cold War air to air. So our threats we're simulating MiG-21s, MiG-17s, MiG-19s, maybe some 23s. This is pre-29s and 30, the MiG-28s, Su-27, MiG-29, and all that new shit that, if those are up, I'm bringing some Eagles and some Vipers to take care of that shit, and I'll go drop bombs. So the most fun was air to air, and because if you had a good pilot, you could everything in your time frame, you could hold them off, or you were not at a disadvantage. Like we joked before, we weren't worried about the F-14s. I mean, as long as you weren't flinging, coming in and flinging Phoenixes at you, which realistically, they're going to waste a Phoenix on fighters. Come on, that's what they got. AIM-7s and AIM-9s, so now we're almost equal. Because they got a bigger radar, but the missile didn't go any further. So and they got a much bigger airplane. So we had no fear of Tomcats because you just forced them to get slow. And once the wings came out, it was like, thank you very much. Let me gun your brains out. Um, you know, biggest, hardest things were if you want to get some of the, the F5s, the aggressor F5s were a bitch because they knew how to fly the airplane.
Right.
And the Navy aggressor Mongoose A4s were really bitch because they could turn so good. And we even got out-zoomed and out-scissored by a Navy aggressor A7 once, which was really embarrassing. But it's
The old course.
Don't worry, nobody's watching, nobody's listening.
Yeah. Oh
we
man.
were coming to a fight and we're watching the fur ball, trying to sneak in the fur ball, pick off a straggler, and we look over and there's an A7 right next to us. And we pull up and he pulls up and he had more knots than we had. And he just zoomed up. It's like, this is going to hurt. And it did. But, it was a good airplane. And you got a good crew together. It was a crew airplane. Like I remember once with the former pilot. In fact, it's the guy who was on the DCS skin, Randy James. We went out against 2v1. We were the bad guy, the one Singleton, and we went in and held off the two other F4s, just got them out of sync, and just basically beat them off, so to speak.
So to speak.
And the shot on them, and they never got a successful shot on us because we worked as a crew good, and we had practiced. That was fun. Now, as far as the meat and potatoes, I mean, running it up the range and dropping, 6 Mark K2s, but string across a target was later on doing GB-15s and things like that, which will come with the later DMAS. Some of the weapons, the early, the smart weapons were a lot of fun. But air is still the most fun.
That's cool. My life is complete now. I'm good.
Your life was complete the moment they said Sean Connery. So
Yeah. It was not complete. It was over, but it was not complete. Yeah.
Well, I'm curious from Diesel on when your F4 flew last or when it will next.
So, according to the logbook, it was fall of 2019 was her last flight, and that particular year was a little bit rough because a B-17 crashed up in Connecticut that was also owned by the foundation, which also had passengers on board. That was just a bad situation all in itself there. And fast forward about 6, 7, 8 months, and everybody gets wrapped up in a global pandemic, and that really shut things down for everybody. So pretty much all the aircraft sat parked for a few years, F4 included. And what happens to a maintenance-intensive aircraft that sits? They don't like it. So when you pick back up with it, it's going to need a lot more extra attention, which it's just the reality of a complicated airplane. And I'm just happy we don't have to maintain the combat systems on top of that, because it just add a whole nother wrinkle to this. But as far as flying next, I don't think we're going to have it ready in time for the air show. Just not enough time left to have everything knocked out and safely checked out. I think by springtime is a pretty good solid estimate that where she could fly. But as I always like to say on the channel, the airplane always gets the final say in this. Our F-100 was no stranger to that last year when we got her ready to fly. It's like, oh, right, the F-100's ready. Let's take her up. And the airplane's like, no. You're going to give me a new wheel bearing in my nose gear axle here. It's like, oh, okay, let's fix that. Airplane against it. Nope, need a fuel pump. All right.
yeah, you've got to listen.
Yeah.
I've got time flying and maintaining, not for the Collings, but for a commemorative Air Force, an A-26, and our crew always would say she's talking to us. And whenever she's talking, you got to listen. And that's how you keep yourself out of trouble.
And that happened. And 3 times with the F-100. So fix that fuel pump, and then now trim actuator motor in the back somewhere. It's finally got that fixed, and the chutes had timed out because they got a 90-day limit before they got to get pulled and then sent off to get inspected and repacked. And when they came back, that's when we could fly her. So it took a little extra long. It's like the airplane always got a final say in what she wanted to do. And I'm pretty sure the F-100 is going to throw a wrench in the mix here and there too.
So I got a follow-up question. What exactly is the Collings Foundation, and how many and what type of aircraft do you guys maintain?
So The foundation is itself, they preserve historic airplanes and also historic automobiles. The main headquarters is up in Stowe, Massachusetts, where they have the big museum. Also, one of their sub organizations under the Collings umbrella is the American Heritage Museum that also has a lot of military ground vehicles, tanks, armored cars, that sort of thing. And it's a pretty impressive facility. I'm hoping next time we're up in Massachusetts to go check that out. They have a lot of the warbirds up there. They got a grass strip. You'll never land an F4 there.
Once.
Yeah, once. And so that's where a lot of the warbirds are parked. There's a couple other facilities. I think there's one down in Florida where there's some warbirds, and then you got us over in Houston, Texas, where we keep 6 aircraft and they're all turbine powered. So we have the F4, the F100 Super Sabre, which currently is the only flight-worthy one in the world. Let's see, we got a TA-4J Skyhawk, an ME-262, which is a 2002 reproduction, not an original. A T-33, it's a trainer that predates the T-38. And the last one we have is a Echo model Huey that out of the 6 of our aircraft, that one actually saw combat in Vietnam with the Marines. And there are some patches on her fuselage where that repaired damage put there courtesy of the North Vietnamese Army.
That is wild.
That's cool.
I don't think there's ever been a more shot at vehicle in any war other than a Huey in Vietnam.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah.
Yep, and that one survived the war. And one of the patches is around the engine compartment, and you look at where the patch is, and you open that door, and it's like the engine's right there. The drive shaft for the tail rotor is immediately underneath that, and where that round entered, it's like, how did that not hit something vital and take this aircraft out? Don't know.
Yeah, it's wild.
Wasn't Magic BB that day.
And she survived the war, and she's in our collection. Now, unfortunately, her being an E model is one of the shorter Hueys that could only put 6 people in the back. Bell didn't make the stretched out Huey until the H model. And with the H model, the H model and onward were far more numbers of those produced. So parts and stuff are still readily available. For the short ones, they had a smaller engine and a shorter rotor system, and they're very hard to find blades for. And that's what's keeping ours grounded is she doesn't have a good set of blades. They time out. So
yeah, because that was gonna be my question about like the F4 is like how finding parts for it, but it's pretty prolific around the world.
Yes,
because like one of my favorite things when I was down here at Hobart is before we retired the U model gunships with the 40 millimeter Bofors on it, there was a team of like lieutenant colonels that would just go around the world and source 40 millimeter Bofors rounds for the gunships, and that was their whole job. It was like monuments men for ammunition.
Wow,
kind of thing. And so so I can only imagine like finding parts for that. So question for both of you, because I gotta try to recover after being shot down like that.
You have to get off the ground to be shot down, dude.
I'm so done. With this.
Your little lean back with the clapping. That was perfect.
I'm locking everybody out. No. So obviously you guys like help the devs out and stuff like that for the Phantom and things like that. But what's you guys' favorite module to fly outside of the Phantom in DCS? Because what's some other fun ones that you guys have jumped into?
For me, Warbird wise, I gotta say P-51 or BF-109. Those two are just absolutely a joy to fly, especially the 109. I love that one. Helicopter, it's either the Huey or the Hind. I'm not big into Red Force aircraft, but I eventually got talked into trying out the Hind, and I love that thing. That thing's just a beast. It's easy to fly, far easier than the Apache, and a lot more easier to be combat effective. And that thing is armored like a son of a bitch, so you can go toe to toe with a lot of infantry and armed forces, and you're going to come out on top.
And jets.
Yep. And those
Yeah.
jets. My first love in DCS was the A10, so I got a soft spot for the A10, the Viper, and obviously the F4. And the upcoming C-130, I'm really interested in that only because I grew up on Little Rock Air Force Base for a number of years. So I'm looking forward to when that comes out.
You and me both.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
You and me both.
Vulture, how about you?
It's the Mirage 2000. Absolutely my favorite.
Oh.
The F4, my favorite jet. I love everything about that little baguette. It's just a wonderful airplane.
We just had a dogfight tournament with 34 competitors,
Huge.
and one Mirage 2000 showed up and wiped the map with everyone else.
Nice.
It's
Yeah,
the
it's
cool
true.
airplane.
Blown away. It was so impressive.
Wow, that is way. They came way out of left field. So the Mirage, what is it
Well,
for you with the Mirage?
There's background to this, and I'll explain when I get to know this.
Yeah.
So for Warbirds, it's the P-51. I like the way it flies, and I use it as my wintertime currency trader for Pawnees, because I fly Pawnees on weekends. And
Nice.
it's remarkable how much it's a big tail drag. I
Yeah.
fly big tail drag, so I mean, yeah, it's a few more horsepower, but it flies.
It's right there in
nice
the
plane.
logbook too. Just write a tow dragger sometime.
And the Door 9's nice, and I'm trying to like the Corsair. It's got some really odd slow speed characteristics, but it isn't fully cooked yet. It'll get there. I do like the feel of the Corsair once you get it going.
Oh yeah.
And then
We're
for
fans.
Helos, the Gazelle.
I
because
love
it
the
has-
Gazelle.
It's kind of that Mirage 2000, but in a slower, and it's got some neat weapons. You can sneak around with those Mistrals and poke people and train Mike down. And anyway, and it flies really nice once you understand how to fly this stupid thing. And then the load, the 086.
Dude.
That's
Oh,
a pretty
yeah.
neat.
I'm telling
Yeah.
you,
I love the thing going
telling
around
you.
the tree.
every time we talk
And-
helicopters, I say everybody go download the free OH6. That thing's awesome. Especially you take a
Load
grenade, throw it out the
is-
window, you drive away, you watch stuff blow up. Fantastic.
And then you get to drop grenades on people.
That's what I'm
Nothing
saying.
should- Out of drop grenade.
Out of a burlap
People.
sack at your feet.
Yeah, just chuck it
I'll
out.
supply the
Yeah,
OB10.
just throw it out the door.
Those two, the OB10 and the Loach, because they're both just. Oh, I've never flown Loach. I have got several flights in the backseat of OB10s, and that's when I win the $1 billion lottery, that's the warbird I'm buying is an OB10.
Yeah.
By far.
I'll come fly in the backseat with you for that one.
All the girls in the back.
I'm
That's what
just a little salty right now because both of you said that your favorite warbirds are P-51s, but you didn't answer P-51. And
It's Sean Connery.
I'm with the airplane.
I am
It's
Oh,
Lincoln, not Stern.
Yeah.
I
Not
fly
happy.
all the warbirds. I do like the Spitfire. I don't like the 303s on that thing. They're just weenie machine guns, and you don't get a lot of bullets for how small they are. But that thing is one hell of a turning machine.
Yeah,
it really is.
when
it
you-
really is.
When you get on somebody too, and you get them with that cannon, it is so satisfying
yes.
to blow wing off.
Yeah, but obviously, well, from watching the dogfight tournament, the cannons on the Mirage are satisfying to
Oh
watch
my
when they
gosh.
hit too. Because holy crap!
Yes. We
Um,
literally just had an episode of 115 minutes of us just gushing about the Mirage, and we're like blown away by this thing.
Well, the dirty secret is I'm half French. So, yeah, I grew up there, and
That explains the Mirage and the Gazelle.
The Mirage is cool, man. That's a cool plane. It's a super cool plane.
What's funny is
I kind of torqued because what they really need is a Super Etendard, an SEM. The carry-on. Because all we got now is a Tomcat, and okay, great big clunky thing with flapping wings.
I'm
and
glad
shit.
you said that because that's another one on my list.
F-18s, which is a simulated airplane and a simulator. So, I mean, I don't need another simulated airplane. The Community A4 is kind of cool, I guess. But the SEM, I mean, I've seen a lot of combat. It's got target pod, it drops LGBs. It's fought, in Afghanistan and all over all sorts of cool places. And it's a neat little airplane. But
what do you think of the
right,
what do you think of the A4? The forever free A4.
I've never tried it.
like it's just given a choice of that or the F4, I'll take the F4. It doesn't give me anything the F4 other than being able to land on a boat. I can do that in the F4 too. Just can't take off.
From what
Not with
I
that attitude.
from what I've seen of it, I will fit better in the DCS A4 cockpit than the real one because we have one of those, the TA4J, and I always forget about how freaking cramped that cockpit is compared to the F4. when I climb up to right brakes, it's like, oh man, you're in here.
I got one flight in a New Zealand TA4. I don't even think of the J. I had the small motor, the J65
Yep.
motor,
An F model.
and that was a slower.
Doesn't even afterburn. It's not a real plane.
I have a question for Vulture, and it's something we've already talked about, but I want it on the podcast. So if we try to get into tactics in this episode, it'd go hours and hours long. But there was one thing you mentioned, because we were joking about the F4 being smoky, and you started talking about using that to your advantage. And I think that's something the listeners would like to hear. You were saying, yeah, I mean, it smokes, but then you started telling us how you can use that.
You know, if you go and beak to beak with guys and you want to kind of get them to pay attention, like it's all about deception. So what you do is run in with both engines in middle and just smoke like a dinosaur. And then when you want to do your move, put them in tactical mill, and we just put one in min burner and the other in idle, or one in full burner in idle. That kills all the smoke immediately. So you're running it on one engine, and then you do an altitude split or an offset split. And you're hoping that the amount of time you can get out of their radar beam, for example, if you're going against similar airplanes, they're looking at the smoke trail and they can't tell it really moved. If you do it right, if they latch onto that smoke trail for 5-10 seconds, boom, you got 5-10 seconds to get some advantage on them.
That's awesome.
So war story, real quick.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Mike said, we got some Tomcats coming in off a cruise. We want to go get up on the Tomcats because Marines hate the Navy. We all know that. So he said, sure, these are the Aviate Cs. They're really small ones. We joined up. We took 2 ships of F4s, two Harriers. They tucked in our wing. We came in at about 10-15 miles. We locked on the Tomcats. Then we did a champagne, and the Harriers went down, and we did the smoke thing and everything. So as the Tomcats are chasing us down, because there's no Phoenix, it's just heaters and Fox 1, Fox 2s, and Fox and gun. As the Tomcats are chasing us, these 2 little Marine Harriers do an element conversion on those guys and gun their brains out. And then the Tomcats are doing the chicken, getting slow because they're getting buzzed around by these 2 Harriers. And then we come back in for fun and just, go high-speed cheerleader lobbing missiles at them and just beat up. So the guys never got a missile off and just got their asses handed to them. And those Marines were so pumped up when we got to the debrief because they just got to kick down with the Tomcats. Yeah, it was fun. Good.
That's nice. Good
it's all
stuff.
about, if you're not cheating good enough, you're just not trying hard enough.
It's true. That was the first lesson I ever learned when I
line
joined.
there as well.
Yeah.
If you're fighting a bear, you're fighting wrong.
Yeah.
My next question is, when's the next time you're sitting backseat in a Phantom? Because, dude, I think we'd all kill to have an opportunity to fly that in DCS with a real WSO. Because, man,
Just to learn.
just to be able to learn from you.
Which time in the back seat? It's been most in the front. But one happy to jump in either seat with anybody anytime. Just give me drop me a line and we'll get together. I'm good with
Hell
that.
yes.
I'll leave that to Scott.
Like I
I
said,
don't
I'm
want to
a
embarrass
nice
myself.
gamer, so I talk a good line, but I'm not as good as the guys who do a lot in the game. I know that. I don't claim to be. But, I've got some better war stories than you have. It just because I've had a little bit.
It's all
But
about the war stories.
then I love taking guys up and doing that kind of shit. It's always fun.
Would you?
I don't want to
So I have.
go. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I
please.
have a very important question. So we've started doing community events with public signups, and our next
Should we
event
go with
is
this?
Fifi. Keep your pants on.
They're
Our,
already gone.
the next public event we're doing, sponsored exclusively by Heatblur and Fox 3. I guess not exclusively, but dual partnership there on that sponsorship. We're doing Kill Jester, where the 3 of us and Graywolf will be Blue Force, and we're gonna have 80 Red Force open sign up players, and whoever kills Jester wherever he's sitting in final recording will win a Heatblur module. Is there any chance? And we've already told the general public we are allowed to have backseaters. Would you be interested?
Sure, that sounds like
We're gonna need all the help we can get. But
Oh,
it's,
yeah.
it's also gonna be a free for all too. Everyone hunting us or hunting me
Yep.
is gonna be able to shoot each other to make sure that they get the final shot.
Oh, it's going to be so much fun.
And we're taking the biggest map.
So chaotic.
We have to fly from the bottom to the top, and they get to spawn maybe 2 points somewhere in the middle. And it's no AWACS. They have to off their own
They
ship.
have to find
Yep,
us
find us
and
and
then
kill us.
kill Jester. It'll
Like
be fun.
Yep.
Oh my
yeah, that
God.
sounds like a good deal.
And they
So-
get to fly whatever they want. So
Yep.
we're stuck to Phantoms and Tomcats, and the enemies get to jump in anything they want and hunt us down.
Tomcat
It'll be good.
Tomcat's a formidable machine when you put two good humans in that thing. That's another one of my favorites, only because I end up in like easily 95% of my Tomcat time in DCS is in the backseat, because that's where I lean on my electronics technician experience, because I got to maintain analog radars in the Coast Guard, and other than ours making full circles on top of the mast there versus the cone of a fighter, similar idea. And that AUG-9, I'm all over it. And having a good pilot where you two mesh really well as a crew, it is a unstoppable machine.
Yeah,
I think we just became
great
best friends.
crew. Yeah. And no offense to Vulture, as much as he wants to shit on the Tomcat, and he was got 2,000 hours in the back of a Phantom, but the back seat in the Tomcat is like one of the best views in the house in DCS.
Oh,
It
dude,
is.
Oh, I love it back
you're
there.
getting dragged around. Yeah,
And then I jump in the F4 back seat and I can't see anything.
because you're in a
'cause it's-
box.
Yeah, you're in the box. And for the F4, only once, like Vulture's done this for real, but once I tried and succeeded in landing it from the back seat, and my usual front seater in the F-14 flew the F4 that day for us, and I said, "Hey, just make sure I'm on center line. I'm gonna try and get it." It took me 3 tries, and 2 go arounds, and I scared the shit out of him twice. And he's like, "Oh, pull up." But it was
go rounds are free.
Yeah, that third one was an ugly landing, but it rolled out.
Yeah, when your front seater's going whoop
Yeah,
whoop,
pretty much.
pull up.
A little quick real world war story from back in the day. I had a friend of mine who was a major in Vietnam, end of the Vietnam days, and they said they used to, it's based in Thailand. They would fly cross country to Da Nang or something, and one of the things they do on a long cross country like that is they'd swap name tags, and the back seat would get a leg from the front seat. So I was waiting,
Nice. Wow.
and this, he gets to the front, he flies the jet to the next base, and the pilot gets to the back seat, and they get to the next base, they get out, swap name tags. And they said that was fairly common among experienced crews in Vietnam.
Wow.
Nice.
I mean,
I never had us to do that later. Over to the guy, he would have done it if I'd asked him, but I went, no, that's kind of a career-ending move.
I mean,
Yeah, it caught. Yeah.
I mean,
But,
at that
yeah.
point though, but at that point though, like you can just pack it up to like cross training across the seats, like I'm just doing this to appreciate what the other guy is doing in the jet.
We're strengthening the crew force.
Yeah,
here.
this is CRM right here. This is good CRM.
Exactly.
Hey, we're starting to get near time here, but before we end it, I want to hand the mic over to both of you guys and just no questions, and whatever you want to talk about. Just we like to give our guests, a few minutes to just talk to the audience about whatever they want. Be it the Collings Foundation, be it War Stories or the Phantom or modules or whatever you guys want. So
Yeah, your causes.
whichever one of you guys wants to take the mic first. Diesel, you want to go?
Go ahead, Diesel.
So, I guess for me, like just being involved with the real F4 has been awesome, and that's outside of hauling a GoPro around in my hand and filming what we do week to week. Just being involved with it's awesome, and then to go with that, anytime we roll her out for a public display, like we had her over at the Lone Star Flight Museum early this year, and seeing veterans come out that either flew them or worked on them, or some of the Vietnam guys like, hey, that airplane saved my ass back in the day, and I'm alive now because they got us out of a jam. And hearing all the stories, we had one gentleman come up at last year's air show from his dad. He's like, hey, I got all these pictures from my dad. His dad flew with Colonel Olds and had a lot of pictures from one of his last
Dude,
flights.
that's awesome.
Yeah. And that made it on the channel. Anybody that's curious, Wings Over Houston 2024, and that was, I think, happened on Sunday. So on the show video, it's on the Sunday segment of that one, and it's really awesome. And then the YouTube channel growing outside of that and having its outreach, and that's been amazing because we get all sorts of old crew or maintainers. It's like, hey, I love this. I love what you guys are doing. Thanks for filming this and keeping Phantoms forever, keeping that thing going. And then tying in with that, the helping out with the developments with Heatblur, that was kind of surreal on top of that. And that was pretty cool because I got a DM on Discord one day from Cobra 847. It's like, hey, you guys have a Phantom. You guys mind giving us a hand? And we did. And there's quite a bit that made it in there. I mean, they're the magic makers that did all the art and the coding and all that. And we helped out where we could with data out of the manuals and schematics and this, that, and the other. Or settle in an argument. It's like, hey, what color were the AOA indexer lights? It's like, well, this book says the Navy style, like the Hornet with, the green, yellow, and red. And it's like, hang on a sec, let me swing by the hangar. I pops one open, it backlit it. I was like, oh, they're all red. Everything's red in this jet. And then, so various little, and all the little tiny details around the jet, like all the scuffs on the floor, some of that, some photogrammetry came from our jet as far as getting that right. Anyone that, I know this is a useless feature in DCS, the rudder pedal adjustment crank to move your pedals back and forth. Each seat has the right number of cranks to get it from all the way forward to all the way aft. And it's
amazing.
Yeah, it's like 12 in the back seat and 37 in the front, or the other way around. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but you can sit there and crank with your little scroll wheel on your mouse and get it to go around, and it goes the right number of revolutions. Some of the artwork, like I said, the start card, they did the yellow one, and one of the guys is like, hey, you guys got a green one. Can you get some photos of that? So the green one, all the stenciling and all the labels and stuff that came off our card, as well as the audio, the canopy sounds going up, down. It's like, I remember that being a thing. It's like, how do all these lock rods move? Because all the lock rods that ride underneath the canopy rails that engage the canopy locks when it comes up or down, it's like all the drawings show it one way, but it's like, how do these move? It's like, oh, let's put air on the jet and hit the switch a few times. Oh, this is how they moved. And this captured all of that. And if the ejection seat wasn't there, you'd see all that stuff is animated properly behind the seat, as far as like the pneumatic cylinder that lifts it, and then the locking mechanisms that go out to the push rods, and then all the claws that engage the canopy locks. It's all there. It's so awesome to see the amount of detail that came off of a real jet and made it into the sim, and that having a small part of that has been awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah, they've put an amazing amount of work into it. Vulture, before we give you the platform to just talk, I did have one question that popped up. We did an episode a while back that was sounds from DCS, like the ASMR, all the sounds from DCS.
That was a fun
And one
episode.
of the sounds that was from the Phantom and the Tomcat that Heatblur put in, amongst all of the sounds of the plane shaking and the buffet and the canopy shaking, if you listen really carefully, you can hear the sound of teeth chattering inside the helmet. And I just want to know, did you ever notice that? Heavy buffet, high away, and your teeth chattering?
Do you still have that by chance?
Not available,
Okay.
not handy.
Can't say I've ever noticed
And,
it. Now I'm going to listen for it next time I fly it.
Yeah.
It was the F4 was actually a pretty soft airplane. It didn't beat you up like, for example, the F-15 really apparently beats you to death at high away. The F4, the Stratojet, just mushed around. That was pretty tough.
Man, see, after hearing you talk about how easy and how nice and smooth and comfortable the Phantom is, like, now I know that I'm just a terrible, terrible pilot.
He's finally catching up to what we already knew.
There is a kinesthetic disconnect between sim flying and real flying, and
It's true.
and because like Vulture could probably attest to this. If you can't feel it, it's a lot harder to fly.
Yeah.
It's true. That's true. I have a few hours in some P-51s, and like I will crash the P-51 in DCS every day, every time I fly it. But flying the real one, I can do it.
I would also ask if you're flying it yet on your new controls versus the old one.
Yeah, I have it actually. I actually landed it way better on the new controls versus the old one, so that also did a big thing for it. Anyways,
Yeah.
So
Vulture,
glad force feedback came back.
force
Dude,
feedback made this
force
game a
feedback is-
whole different animal.
Yeah,
Um,
amazing.
do you have anything you want to say to the viewers there, Vulture?
Just I'll piggyback on what Diesel said about working for he learned with the F1. It's been an amazing experience. I mean, they got a lot of things so right, and it's fun when they come back with a question and you can kind of winkle down and say, no, you got to look at this page and here's the answer. This is how it really works, and this is what it really means. And then we go to Diesel and say, hey, what color is that line? Can I turn it? Which way does it turn? Or how far does the knob turn? Or things like that, because the hardware is right. And doing that was really fun for me because I did that for 10, 15 years after my career in the Air Force, but my career in simulators for real for on F-15E sims. And it was kind of a continuation doing the same job I did then. But what I really want to talk about is, this kind of stuff is awesome. And I think the more we can, give to motivate kids to get into either aviation or, the military or stuff that's, high tech, STEM, whatever, by exposing them to, interesting stuff like, DCS, which I think is just, it's an amazing accomplishment. When I think back to what the simulators were like when I was flying F4s.
Yeah.
It really is a gateway, I think, to a lot of kids to kind of see stuff that they didn't realize existed. Think how small the military is nowadays and how few airplanes you really have. And one of the things I like doing is, towing weekends there on my glove. I like towing because I'm towing kids getting, going through student rides.
Yeah.
I'm giving back to the club by, being the tow plate over again. It's because it's rather than me just going off my glider flying for 6 hours. I spend the whole day towing guys because I'm helping kids. Anything we can do to help out kids, find something they like to do or get them, out of their phone into something where actually moving their hands around doing stuff.
What
it's important.
What's your favorite, story of someone you've impacted in aviation? Someone that you've helped bring the aviation through gliding or through whichever that maybe you met 10 years later and they're like, hey, Vulture, I went and I did this and I that's what I want to hear.
Yeah, I don't have a then now, but we do have a lot of the kids from the club I've been flying with for the past 20 years now, or some have gone with the Air Force Academy and they've come back in and tell us how things are going, or kids have gone and got their licenses and gone to do stuff. And it is just a lot of fun when you get the young kids who are really excited by doing something. And treating them like an adult and making them responsible for what they're doing. And today we use a lot of sims for that. We have, if you from Condor 3, which is a glider simulator, that's kind of the standard for training. We have 2 of those sims in our club. And you start them off in that, and boy, they jump in an airplane and learn right away. So I just think it's important to, when you get older on, like a guy like me, to try to motivate kids to get into the cool stuff like that and maybe help whenever you can and kind of pass on some of your advantage and tell them some of the goofy war stories and, no shit, there was fun on my back, that kind of stuff. Kind of keep the fun going. It's all got to be fun.
Yeah.
Scott and I have a story like that.
Yep. And just to
With
piggyback
somebody
on
that we know.
that, if I can, that's I think what he's alluding to there. That's probably one of the more underappreciated aspects of DCS. I think because it's one thing to go see one of these aircraft at a museum, just sitting there. It's like, oh wow, that's kind of a big airplane. That's pretty impressive. It's another. You can jump in DCS, be like, wow, this is what it was like to fly back in the day. Wow, what a challenge this thing was. Or wow, it's like
Yeah. I really like the way I like to fly is, but I'm not a gamer. I grew up before the gaming thing, so I don't really think of DCS as a game. And that side doesn't interest me that much. But I like getting the airplane, not just doing a full start, but getting on the ground, taxiing, taking off, flying it like I would fly a real airplane, having an objective. And that objective would just be sightseeing, but flying the airplane like a real airplane, not doing something really stupid. Flying around and making sure, like in an F4, making it back with enough gas and flying a textbook overhead pattern and touchdown the numbers, taxiing in and doing everything right, trimming it in, shutting it down. So I feel like I've done something. I've just jumped in and, respawn every 5 minutes because I get blown up, get by the ES400. So it's just how I approach it from a different direction because that's my background. And nothing, and people like flying. Like my son is in DCS, so we'll hook up sometimes and fly together. We'll get together and fly Helos or Mirage 2000s and Helix Vigans, and it's kind of fun he's in maintain the F-35s at Luke, and I'm over here and, hey, Dad, let's go fly. We'll jump on and fly. That is
That's
so
awesome.
cool.
That's super cool.
That's awesome.
Generate, you get together. I could never get near some airplanes when he was a kid, but now we fly DCS together. So it's a lot of fun.
That's really cool.
Nice. Did you have a question for Graywolf?
I did. I have a quick one. I feel like we've ignored him this entire episode.
You just
Although I
sat in
think
his
we're
corner.
allowed, contractually, I think we're allowed to ignore you now because there's a
Yes.
4th episode clause in your contract, if I remember correctly.
Red-shirted.
Exactly. For Tomcat to Phantom, what was the biggest difference for you? Because you were part of both.
Yes, that and it was an interesting difference. Definitely some story time for Iron Mike and myself at some point in the future.
We gotta get him on.
because yes, absolutely.
He's good.
Yeah, I mean, I attribute so much to the work that I've been able to pull off to him, and just his directing and helping progress just my artistic ability, really. But I guess development wise, I kind of joke with our hosts here that that as part of the development process, I was in the room. I was seated at the table, but I was given some Play-Doh and some Legos, and just kind of told, like, hey, go. All right, when the adults are done talking now, go in that dark room and yell into a microphone or something with Iron Mike, giving you some feedback and etc. But occasionally I did, speak up to some stuff because I've been around DCS and flight sims for quite a while and have some limited private pilot experience, etc. But it was all about taking direction from Iron Mike, and in the F-14, especially when I found out, Cobra approached me to do it, is the MiG-21 had just released. So for a little while there, and then we really started ramping up into F-14 production, and it's really figuring out, okay, well, we want to avoid as much as we can doing ARMA style call outs, right? And 200 meters front, so how do we talk that way and stitch together phrases? And this is pre kind of the AI voice crazy stuff that we have nowadays, that is probably going to be really instrumental in games in general in the future, I think. But for developing the F-14, it was there was a lot of redos, and there was a lot of just a lot of brain power that went into it. And the SMEs for the F-14 were instrumental, of course. And but we just started going at it, and just spent just a huge amount of time coming up with those essentially 9,000 voice lines from the get-go. And it's the talent that I would say with Iron Mike especially is being able to reach into my brain and yank out some wires, and because I had to like relearn how to talk in order to like do a lot of these phrases, since they're essentially stitched together. And I didn't do a whole lot as far as deciding what's going to be said. I left that all to the team, and maybe I would have an idea here and there, but I stuck to my Legos mostly. And but then we really got the Jester system fleshed out, and then with the F-14, and then moving to the F-4, it was a lot more refined. Obviously we kind of knew what we were doing. We knew what we did wrong. We knew what we wanted to change, and we knew a lot of the lines that we wanted to do to make it sound more fluid, and just kind of progress with Jester 2.0. And there's still more to come. There's probably even some lines that are still to be tapped into, and that development process kind of ballooned up into around 12,000 lines or so, and certainly dealing with the F4 with just the higher amount of airframes, we were able to have a lot more resources for people who were involved with the F4 at some point in its life, which just a testament to Vulture and Diesel here. Just a big thank you from what little I did with my Legos. Thank you guys for helping make this aircraft what it is, and just really, it's amazing. It's obviously one of my favorite things to fly, the F-14 and the F-4 Phantom. If I'm doing air to ground, I'm in a Phantom usually. If I'm doing air to air, I like doing the F-14, and those are my two birds in DCS, and I just love it. So
You heard it
Well,
here
we're kind
first.
of Go ahead.
Iron Mike is the Stanley Kubrick of model making.
And that F4 Phantom trailer teaser video
Dude,
that they put out was one of the best
100%.
videos I've ever seen
Nailed
for
it.
DCS.
I watched.
Dude,
I
that
watch it
that
once
that
a week.
F4 camera when it's just like back there by the freaking engines, and you just see like flutter, and you see like rivets, and it's like back and forth, and you're like getting cold sweats and goosebumps. Like,
We're at time, but Diesel, Vulture, thank you for being on the episode. Graywolf,
Oh,
thanks
yeah.
for being back with us anytime.
I forgot we're
I think
doing the
Heatler-
giveaway.
We are, yeah. Let's talk about. Well,
ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
go ahead and talk about
Unbelievable.
the giveaway, and
I
then
can't-
I'll end it.
I can't take this
Yeah,
because
we're-
now
well-
we've had Graywolf doing Jimmy impersonations. Now we have Jimmy doing Graywolf impersonations.
Well, I mean, it has been a while since you've seen us in the same frame, so
Yeah. If you've hung out to the end of this episode, Graywolf's can tell you about a little giveaway.
Yeah, we're just giving away a Heapler module. So I think Scud's going to run it essentially in the Discord. So join the High Alpha Hooligans Discord to kind of get registered for the giveaway, and we're giving away a module.
Fifi, how do you want him to check in with you?
Yeah, so join the Discord, check in with us in the Squadron Bar, buy a round, and you can get a chance to win yourself a Phantom.
I think
When are we gonna? This episode airs Monday. When are we
Airs
gonna
Monday.
7 days.
choose that?
7
7
days.
days.
Yeah, we'll announce it on the next episode. How about
Yep.
that?
All right,
And
sounds good.
Do me a favor. If you guys join the Discord, or if you're already in the Discord, I want you to type in "I love the Phantom," and we're gonna search those keywords. "I love the Phantom," and that's how we're gonna get all the entries. And then we'll put that in a
There you go.
randomizer. So
There it
in
is.
Squadron Bar, nowhere else. You don't even have to read these instructions. Go to the Squadron Bar, say "I love the Phantom."
Hope they got the
Again,
spelling right.
Vulture and Diesel, thank you for being here. Graywolf, welcome back. You're always welcome. And same with you guys, Vulture and Diesel. We'd love to have you guys back on as well. Heapler put out an incredible module with the F4. It's mind blowing the amount of work they put into it, and thank you guys for giving them the information and the data and the experience that they needed to give us a product that lets us get a glimpse of what it's like to be around, work on, and fly such an awesome airplane. So thanks for the work you guys put into it. I think you guys, your work is definitely evident
Visible.
in how outstanding this module is.
Yes.
Fifi, you got a final thought?
Nah, man. I need
Jimmy?
somebody to pick the Mustang. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I need somebody to pick
Jimmy, you
the
got-
Mustang.
You got dad advice?
I do
for,
have dad
look-
advice. So as we go through life, we have kids of all ages around us, and it is important that as we progress through life and we get new toys, make sure you read your instructions so that you're not playing video games with your friends, making call outs on the wrong side because you can't read left to right. Graywolf, you want to do this thing?
Fifi's got his shoes on wrong feet too.
Alrighty.
They made the 9 left 9 is not the guy that it's right 3.
Yes.
So
That-
could always tell left and right wizards could always tell 3 and 9 too.
No.
well, thank you very
Send us
much,
out,
guys. And as always, rifle kazoo.